Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Melissa. If you're just joining me here, welcome. We're in a new little filming setup for today. I have a couple ficus plants that I want to repot, and I only have these two ficus in my collection, and I thought I would repot them and kind of go over my care that I provide for my ficus. I do love them, but I will say the biggest thing with ficus plants is light, and I would get more, but I'm not sure if I have the light requirement for these plants. As you guys know, behind me in my plant room, I have two big south windows, which is great for ficus plants, especially if you live here in the northern hemisphere. South light is phenomenal. Ficus plants are going to want to be right up in the window, touching the glass, seeing the sky. They will do the best with that amount of light. And ficus plants are known to be somewhat of a finicky plant, and they don't like to be touched, they don't like to be moved, they don't like their roots messed with. So I will say, if you are wanting to get into ficus, or you have a ficus that's not as happy, I can almost guarantee you light is going to be the biggest improvement that you can make with your ficus plant. Here beside me is my Ficus teneki, and I've had my ficus since 2021, I believe. My very first ficus was the Lyrica, and I did well with that one. And I had a Altissima as well, but it unfortunately did not handle the transition from outside to inside at the old house. And over winter, even though I had it in front of a south window, it just, I guess, shocked and ended up dying. But this one here has done well. So in 2021, when I first got this ficus, I did have it outside of my front porch, and it loved it. Last summer was, after we moved here, I didn't put it outside. I was worried. So it maybe has grown, I would say, this much since being like all here last year. So I think I'm gonna put it outside this year. I really think it's going to appreciate that light difference. And I'm thinking about putting it on my front porch behind me. You can see the light coming in. I only have shade in my two front corners of the front porch. So any sun that is going to hit the leaves on this plant is more than likely going to burn it. And I'm not sure if it's going to be able to handle that light out there. As far as repotting, so I did not repot this plant last year. It's been in the same pot since 2021. So I feel like I'm going to go up. I actually need to go get a pot. I meant to go grab an 8-inch pot. I'm going to upsize it. This, I believe, is a 6-inch. It's slightly taller than wide. I'm gonna go up to an 8-inch and backfill. I'm not going to mess with the roots, especially if I plan on putting it outside. I don't wanna shock this plant. So if you don't have to mess with the roots, I wouldn't. You can kind of gently massage and try and get off some old soil if it's really old, but I would caution strongly on doing too much with the root system. As far as watering goes, I let them mostly dry. They're in my normal mix, which I have here beside me. I just made a batch up. Ficus teneki can brown very easily. I haven't had too much browning on mine, but I feel like it has something to do, obviously, with the lack of chlorophyll. White parts need more light. I think it has something to do with the light and the soil consistency. So if you're underwatering, overwatering, if you stress it in any way and all of that, it can cause the browning to happen. And I would say the pests that you have to watch out for the most is definitely spider mites. My teneki has had spider mites twice, and so far, it's been doing well. I haven't had any spider mites on it since early last year, I would say. So it's been doing well. And I do have slow release fertilizer in my potted plants, which my plants have responded well to. I recently am switching over to a new fertilizer, which I have shown in a couple previous videos. This is Dynamite Select. I was using Osmocote Plus for like the past 8 or 9 months. So I don't have any feedback on this particular feed yet, but I'm gonna put some in here and see how it does with that. The next plant, the next ficus I'm going to be repotting. Now, I don't necessarily need to repot this one, but it's going to be interesting what we're going to find today. So this is a little rescue triangularis, and it's already dropping some leaves because it's been out of my plant room for like 5 days now. And so that transition from being in my window where it's getting full sun to out of my plant room in low light, it's angry. So it's dropping leaves. It is not happy. And the reason why I moved it is because I've been dealing with ants in my window seal, my window ledge. They have come in, I believe, from the blooming sappy Hoyas that were in the window. And I saw an ant crawling on the outside of this pot. So I'm worried there might be ants in the soil. So that's the only reason I am repotting this one today. It was a rescue. So again, I haven't had this one very long and it's been doing okay in my south window. Again, it's another finicky ficus. They drop leaves very, very easily. So this one may not even do well. I'm gonna get this one outside too, along with this one, and put them together and see how they do, if it doesn't die on me before then. I moved you guys a little bit closer so you could see a little bit more. So this is my 8-inch plastic nursery pot that I love using. I get these in bulk off Amazon and they work great. They have lots of drain holes. And my normal chunky mix, I do have a video on my mix, but I've recently added leca to it, leca balls, for a little extra more moisture retention and aeration. And then I made mine a little less chunky. I added less perlite, orchid bark, and charcoal because I feel like just my mix is drying really, really quickly in my space. So I just think having it a little less chunky for me is going to just help retain a little bit more moisture. But I love my mix. I use Fox Farm Ocean Forest base and my plants respond well to it. It has a lot of good nutrients. So we're gonna add a scoop here to the bottom. And again, like I said, we are just going to lift and plop with the ficus. Less is more. I'm actually curious what the roots look like, because again, I didn't repot her last year. You know, she's honestly not super root bound at all. I can tell the soil is a little compacted. You know, it has been 1.5 years since all these fertilizer balls are falling out, since I, have repotted her. But we are just going to do a plop and fill method. Let's see, I'm going to take a little bit of this away. Yeah, just like that, I'm going to gently loosen this. You guys can see, just loosening some of the soil up top. I wish I had a pot that was just a little bit higher up, but I think this one will be good. And usually if you see roots coming out of the bottom, the plant is drying out quicker, or you notice roots kind of piling up on top, it could be a sign your plant is root bound, which I feel like this one again wasn't overly root bound, but I just want to give it a fresh upsize to help retain a little bit of moisture since I'm going to put it outside, and just to give it a little bit of, some added nutrients. So all I'm doing is going to backfill. This is already looking so good. And when I backfill, I make sure to press around the edge just to sink the soil into the bottom. Especially with a chunky mix, it can leave air pockets. And I do have a little fertilizer in here, but I'm gonna add just a little bit more since I did upsize. There, that is perfect. I will give her a good water in. I will water in with Superthrive, just like a drop or two, just to help reduce any shock. I didn't like mess with the root, so it shouldn't shock just from backfilling. Maybe it'll just help it, you know, recover anyway. So that one is all done. Set this one down. She is beautiful. So for the ficus, it is in a 3-inch and it was a rescue, so it probably doesn't have a huge root system. So again, I probably don't have to upsize, but since I do want to put it outside, I don't want to, a 3-inch pot out there is going to dry so fast and I would rather it not stress like that. And I'm putting gloves on in case there are ants that come flying out of the soil. I hope it doesn't have any ants, but we're gonna check. I've had this taro ant bait in here, so I'm hoping if there was ants, they ate it and they all died. But I don't trust that there's not ants. All right, we're gonna dunk her.
Oh shit, there's ants. I had a feeling this one had ants.
Do you see them? They're like crawling. There's not as many, but you can see them, like right there. I recently had to prop my entire string of turtles because it had an ant colony in it. Let's drown the root ball. All right, I'm gonna leave this here for a second. I'm just going to clean up this mess and dump this, and I will be back. So the ant mess has been cleaned up. I don't think there's any more ants left in the little root ball. I think we're good. Yeah, so this is all that's left of my little Ficus triangularis. So we're gonna take our 5-inch, add some soil. Normally I would do a 4-inch for such a tiny root system, but I do want to get this plant outside and I don't want it to dry out super, super fast. So I'm going to try and fill this up quite a ways with soil just because I don't want this trunk down in the soil too much. I actually have a tiny little root peeking right here. So I'm gonna try and put the soil to like here and not have it come up too high. So I'm gonna plant this. This is about halfway filled with soil. So I'm gonna plant that right in the center and I'm gonna fill up around. And before I fill up all the way, we're gonna add a little bit of slow release. Note to self, once my Hoyas start blooming, they will not be going back into the window. I have 2 Hoyas that still have blooms, which I need to check in the window. One needs a repot, it's severely root bound. I don't think it would have any ants in it though, because I've never noticed ants with those 2 Hoyas and they've been in my window for a while. It was just the Retusa that started blooming within the past month. All right, I'm also gonna add a little support stake. So this is just a clear acrylic stake. I get these off Amazon. Just because it's just one little vine here, I'm just going to support it so that if it's super windy, it doesn't topple over, I guess. I just want a little support in here until it grows more. And I may eventually try and prop this one too, you know, as it grows, but it's so small and it may not even recover from the shock that I just put it through. We'll see. I'm just gonna anchor it here at the base just to give it a little support. All right, I think I am happy with how that's looking. It's so cute. So what I'm gonna do is I have my water bottle here, and this is just Superthrive. It gives plants a little extra boost. It has nutrients. I personally feel it helps reduce shock after repotting, especially after what this plant just went through. I definitely want to water. So normally you use like a drop per cup, but I just put a little bit in here. like that. Let that kind of drink through. So we are going to water her through. I'm using Superthrive with her too, just because, you know, it doesn't hurt. If it's gonna give the plant a little extra nutrients and help with the shock of the repot, then why not? I am all for letting and helping plants acclimate. Give that one a good drink. And I haven't cleaned, I cleaned the leaves not too long ago on this plant. I don't see any spider mites or anything like that, but I'm just gonna take one of my little gloves, and this is just neem oil, water, and peppermint soap. Oh, shoot, I shouldn't do that over my soil. I'm just gonna wipe some of the leaves here. I'm trying to be better about wiping my leaves because I'm not someone who wipes leaves a lot because I do use beneficial mites. But I'm trying to get in a better habit of using them or of wiping them in between rounds of mites. I recently used a horticultural oil on a lot of my plants, and I'm giving that like a couple weeks before I order some more. I've also been dealing with flat mites. So as like a preventative is why I kind of sprayed my plants with that. And remember, if you're using neem oil, don't put your plant in light right away because neem oil can burn. I think this ficus is really gonna like being outside. I'm nervous because I don't want it to get angry and I don't want it to die. I've had this plant for a little while and it's beautiful. So I'm like hesitant. I think that's good. All right. So those are all done. I will probably find a spot in the shade for both of these. I'm not putting them in any direct sun. If you are acclimating them, I am making, I don't know which video is gonna come first, but I am making a video on putting plants outside and acclimating them, you know, and how to kind of go about that. Again, shade should be fine, but if they're getting any direct sun, make sure it's not for too long, maybe an hour at most, you know, and slowly, gradually increase that time because you don't want your plants to burn. All right, so that is it for this video. Stay tuned for the outside plants video. You can see how I style my plants outside. Again, like I said, I'm not sure which one is going up next, but if that one is done before this video, I will link it. If not, then stay tuned for that video soon. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any ficus questions or anything, let me know. I can try and help you down below in the comments. Again, I'm not like super experienced with ficus plants. I know what they like, I know what they need, and it's just about, can you provide that in your home growing environment? So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later.